Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer tactics. Today I want to talk about a concept, playing with artillery. Active defense is what I like to call it. You might also hear me call it playing forward, or just, not being stuck to your artillery. So here, up against Rider of Rohan, who's actually a patron of mine. Just a reminder, if you guys want private practice sessions with me, I do have a Patreon tier where you can get that, so be sure to check that out if it interests you. But anyway, for today, he's taken High Elves. I wouldn't necessarily consider this a true rush build. It is kind of a missile rush in a way, which is a common tactic to take against Vampire Coast. You'll often see, I myself have used full Vanguard, Empire, Dwarf builds that have like 12 missile units that just Vanguard and just blast the enemy with local fire superiority. High Elves can't quite pull off the same thing, given that their Vanguard options are a little bit more limited, but this kind of archer spear line rush, in a way, you can see how he's deployed kind of split up so that he's not going to get hit by a big wind of death or something, and also he can kind of just push forward. Likewise, he's got some Reavers to push flanks and harass, and to that effect over here, I get a little bit too active on defense with these ones. I do charge in on this Reaver. I'm able to more or less take it out, but this Reaver gets a really nice Hand of Glory. Extra melee attack comes in and just wrecks those Scurvy Dogs. I did get a Dance Macabre on them, Overcast, which was maybe a little bit of a waste of Winds of Magic at that point, but yeah. The point I'm trying to make here with that is I'm trying to actively use these hounds, the cannons, and whatever else to eliminate the threats to my cannon. And you can see how I'm kind of played forward a little bit here with my infantry line. My plan is to push the guns up as well, but I also want to potentially use them to protect the cannon here. So we're going to go ahead and just real quick just gat these Illyrian Reavers with a big Overwatch fire. And yeah, that does pretty well there. Basically just runs them right off the field. That means I can peel these other two out and 2-on-1 versus this Reaver, even though I'm going to eat the charge on one of these Scurvy Dogs, which is definitely not great. The cost trade here, the fact that it's just about the tactical usage of eliminating his mobility so that I can operate my cannon with a little bit more impunity. That being said, I'm going to make a pretty critical mistake here and sort of push my infantry line a little bit too far forward. And again, I'm kind of being a little too active in defense. Unsupported from the guns, this is going to be potentially a little bit rough, but Rider of Rohan is coming around with these other two Illyrian Reavers that had won that other engagement. Eltharion, the Grim, also leading the way with the Noble. They're going to be pushing up on this flank. Meanwhile, I'm trying to use Harkon as best I can to support this mainline fight, just try and just like fly around, maybe distract some of the archer shots, but even still, they're getting pretty effective fire into these zombies. And obviously the zombies aren't going to win any of these melee engagements, so ends up maybe being a mistake by me. I don't know. We'll see. If I can kind of ping-pong Harkon around and maybe cycle charge some different targets, maybe we could win out there. But the cannon, again, just directly going after those Reavers for the moment. We do also have some brave Lothern Seaguard who have made their way over here. But the guns, I'm, again, trying to just keep positioned to protect the cannon. I figure the cannon can probably take out a lot of these infantry as well if I protect it for long enough. So here I'm going to go ahead and dive down. There was a Lore Master of Hoeth for the caster here. Harkon comes down with a Hornswoggle on him, and is just about able to take him out, but some Silverin Guards come in the screen, and he's also taking quite a bit of damage, not only from those Silverin Guards, but from, the bow fire that's been poured into him as well. Likewise, the zombies are taking quite a bit of damage. The magic support, unfortunately, is also not there. I have my caster back here trying to keep these guns alive, which maybe potentially a mistake. But as it is, really just trying to finish off these high-value units, especially Eltharion. The fact that Eltharion is here supporting all of these Reavers, I figure if I can isolate him by killing all of these Reavers, then I can get kind of like a concave of guns here to potentially take him out. This Fiery Convocation is used on the pistol mobs, which is a little bit of a mistake. The summoned pistol mobs here, obviously not as valuable or important as these handgun mobs. But still good usage of it. I mean, it maybe not super optimal, but it does basically completely wreck that pistol mob summon. They're mostly combat ineffective at this point. But you can see all the guns are kind of focused on Eltharion. If we check back in on the mainline fight, things are really not going super well. Honestly, the zombies are mostly crumbled away, and Harkon is struggling, let's say. Despite his double healing effects, he's still taking a lot of damage. We'll probably still be able to heal cap him if I play my cards right, but I really haven't been able to support this zombie fight like I needed to. It's gone fairly decisively against me. So really my only chance is to try and goon Eltharion, finish him off with missiles, and then maybe, just maybe, I can come in with Harkon, get him up to his healing cap, and just cycle charge the rest of this elf line to death. But the zombie line, one good thing about me way overextending it here is the High Elves are going to have to walk some distance to catch up to this kind of pocket here, this missile pocket. High Elf bows definitely can take out the carronades very quickly. I've only used about half of the ammunition on them, but you can see as soon as Eltharion gets opened up, he just gets gatted, absolutely gatted by these handgun mobs. I have lost one handgun mob, though. Definitely not the best. If we can get Eltharion off the field, that will make the rest of these elves a lot more susceptible to terror routing. I am concerned, though. These spearmen with some chevrons, really good leadership on them. They're not going to want to give up the fight easily. But, yeah, Hornswaggle on the Noble now. Oh, nope, I'm going to nope out of that, looks like, and VTOL a breath directly down on his head, which does a ton of damage. And now charge down, see if we can finish off the Noble. And this is the thing about Harkon. He is just so powerful as a character. With Dance Macabre active, I mean, the Noble's already routed anyway, so that was maybe a little overkill, but we are going to be able to finish that Noble off. And just like that, we're starting to chew back on the balance of power. Focus firing with these guns, the first thing that comes into range here, and that happens to be these unshielded Lothern Seaguard, who will absolutely get wrecked by these gun Overwatch. We'll see. Hand of Glory on them. Oh no, Earthblood to try and heal them up as they take this Overwatch fire. It's actually a pretty good play. Means I'm going to waste a bunch more of my ammunition there. But another pistol mob summon again, just to try and break up this advantage as much as possible. The Black Spot are taking fire, which is not great. I mean, none of my units taking fire at this point is really super optimal. But the Black Spot especially are one of the more expensive units. They can sort of fight in melee, kind of. Not really against elf infantry, but they're certainly better than their other handgun counterparts. So this is nice for me. This is kind of one of the reasons why I summon this pistol mob here, is so that it could soak some fire as it's shooting, and we are able to see off those Lothern Seaguard. But there's still so many High Elf archers here. Several units of archers, 4 of them, and another Lothern Seaguard that's all very low, so we'll see. Can I actually come back here? Balance power somewhat back in my favor. We've been able to clean up quite a bit, finishing off those heroes. But my ground forces just took an absolute beating here. Handguns continuing to shoot. And just the plinking, popping, general shooting here is going to finish off the Lothern Seaguard. Unfortunately, though, the Spearman and Silverin Guard now pushing forward, I really have no answer to. The Silverin Guard especially, like, they're going to be really good against Harkon in melee. And the fact that, you know, that I have taken so much damage already, it's going to be tough to heal cap. We'll see. We'll kind of put it in a little bit of a fast forward. We do have a few replays to get through today as this kind of shooting fight ensues. I'm going to eventually start picking away at the flanks there with Harkon. Actually, probably should have gone after the archers that actually have ammo in hindsight. Those Lothern Seaguard didn't have any ammo, so that maybe wasn't the best. But likewise, I probably can finish off this Loremaster of Hoeth. We're going to go ahead and put a Dance Macabre on him. We'll give him a little bit of extra healing. He also has both Hunger and Regeneration active. So, yep, we are able to terrify away Loremaster of Hoeth there. Keep that balance of power from getting too far afield. But at this point, there's nothing I can really do to protect this carronade. It's used up a lot of its ammo, but really I don't think it's paid for itself. I guess 100 kills, maybe it has, to be honest. But yeah, the archers are just about out of ammo at this point. There's really only a few volleys left on these guys, so maybe, just maybe, I actually have a chance of coming back here. Balance power is still definitely in the High Elves' favor, but if I can use the crab as kind of an anvil and then use Harkon as the hammer to get terror routes, then I should be able to terrify away quite a few of these elven units. These archers still have their martial prowess, but even with that, really don't have the best stats in the world. My zombie guns are almost gone. Just getting a little bit more fire into those Silverin Guard, it looks like. Yeah, the missile block chance maybe not the best, but probably was trying to go after those archers. I don't know 100%. Over here, we are going to get some terror routes. Some of these High Elf units will start to run away, so it's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close. We'll get in close ourselves as the Crab and Luther kind of hold off back to back against all these elf infantry. I'm not sure if that Lore Master of Hoeth came back from route. I think he's pretty well shattered, yeah. So no heroic units for the High Elves. It really is just going to come down to these Silverin Guard and Spearmen, if they can beat Harkon or not. We're going to go ahead and taunt this Silverin Guard here. Charge it with both. Again, the melee defense debuff going to be very important here, as Silverin Guard do have very strong melee defense. They're down to still 32 with that taunt. And the armor debuff, of course, is pretty nice as well. Unfortunately, taunt doesn't last very long. And here, I'm going to try and go save the black spot if I can with Harkon to support that engagement. But ultimately, this may have proven to be a mistake because it does leave the Crab Lady isolated here. Poor Captain, yeah, now we're going to get pretty much surrounded here. And there are some more Silverin Guard that came back from route. Big old blob of High Elves around her now, so... yeah, this is not the best. While the black spot are still crumbling, I'm going to pull Harkon away here. And now rear charge into this blob again. See if I can get a good terror route. But since he didn't pop up into the air, I don't think he actually got that great of a charge. It looks like the terror route does work, though, as quite a few units give up the fight and run. But look at this. Of course, who remains? The Silverin Guard. Still holding the line, another unit rushes in here, and with their superior AP damage, they can tear apart Harkon and the Crab Lady in a big hurry. So, poor Captain, we are going to throw a taunt here. Once again, lower their melee defense, but it's not going to be enough, and as, you know, tournament rules dictate, I can't disengage now from this engagement because I only have single entities left, like I can't cycle charge, right? Black Spot just got finished off there, so... it is all over for me, unfortunately. Very, very close game. Super well played at Rider of Rohan. And, just, yeah, honestly, his build was pretty good against mine. Even if I had stayed a little closer to my line, I'm not sure I could have properly supported, you know, with the guns. Ultimately, I think what I should have done is put the Crab Lady forward to get the pistol summons and the other zombie summons and just generally heal the front line, keep those zombies fighting and holding as long as possible, and then instead use Harkon to support the cavalry engagement against Eltharion, and obviously he can help snipe Eltharion and help operate in a mobile way against those cavalry and kind of support the hounds, not let them get killed so horribly, and then when I do terrify away the Reavers, then the hounds can chase them off, right? So that was probably the #1 mistake for me. If I had sort of swapped them in their places, it may have gone a little bit better for me. Obviously, credit to Rider of Rohan, definitely had some really good plays there. And just staying calm, pushing forward with his infantry line, yeah, ended up winning out at the end of the day. So maybe not the best example of active defense, but here, I guess, is a good example of me being a little bit too active and not sticking to my guns quite so much. But let's go ahead and take a look at another example of good active defense. Next up, a clash of men, Bretonnia versus Empire, and I have brought 3 trebuchets, so I'm going to be a little bit more stuck to my artillery here, right? I'm just not going to have the ability to play it very forward, especially against the Empire, who has good mobility and can contest my mobility. Yeah, Red Legion here, my opponent has brought a great cannon though, and just one great cannon, so he can definitely play forward from his artillery, try and win the mobility engagements as much as possible. He's got 2 Demigryph Knights with lances, Volkmar the Grim, some Empire Knights over on this side, Silver Bullets, a bunch of State Troops with Sigmar's Sons in the center, some Outriders as well, and for myself, I've got Peasant Tide here, not really, but some veteran Spearmen at Arms, sort of taking a page from Empire's book, supported by a Grail Relic. They actually have 85 leadership and immune to psychology, which is quite strong. 48 melee defense as well is very good. Again, the 3 trebuchets, 3 archers, 2 Pegasus Knights, along with Lewin in the air. We've got Lore of Beasts for Manticore summons, and mobs up front. So yeah, I'm going to maneuver my archers over here just to kind of mirror the Outriders. And again, because I have sort of this critical mass of artillery, I really want to try and stick to them as much as possible. And not only that, but these are very cheap artillery pieces. And since I have 3 of them, I really don't mind losing like maybe 1. And this guy right here has basically infinite mass. He can be pinned in by certain cavalry. I don't think he can actually be pinned in by Pegasus Knights. I think they're too light. So another advantage of me kind of sticking close to the artillery pieces is they can potentially block Volkmar's unit model and allow me to get some good rear charges in. At least that's my thinking here. But Red Legion, meanwhile, is just straight up pushing forward. He has a good amount of mobility, enough to try and contest. Maybe he might have to watch for my Pegasus Knights, but here my Pegasus Knights are getting busy kind of finding these Outriders. We are able to get a charge on them. And this is going to be a bad day for the Outriders for sure. Just take a ton of damage here. Both units, I'm really hoping I could just route them right off the side of the map here, but nice job by Red Legion here. He screens with these Empire Knights and is able to push my Pegasus Knights away. Don't want to take the charge, certainly, from those Empire Knights. That would be very, very bad. So, want to get up in the air and try and charge them instead from the air. Looks like they may actually catch a couple unit models here. Meanwhile, my Trebuchets are targeting the Royal Altar of Gryphites here. Actually, yeah, what is that then? Two units of Demi-Geese. One is the Royal Altars. Anyway, now that the Empire Knights have kind of been stopped up, they dropped their order since we disengaged. We can now charge them without getting charged, if you remember my counter charge video. Very important in a matchup like this. And here, yeah, these Empire Knights just get absolutely wrecked. I am taking some damage on one of these Pegasus Knights, though, which is not the best. But at the same time, the Empire is about to get in the front line here. I'm going to try and use King Lewin to help stop up Volkmar as well. But that will kind of open me up to getting countercharged a little bit. Likewise, my Manticore Summon going to pop up and go after the Empire's Manticore Summon, which was used at exactly the same time. And yeah, Lewin's going to come forward, hit Volkmar there. Meanwhile, over on the side, I'm maneuvering again these archers. They're going to screen the Outriders very well, and I can use my Pegasus Knights in this mainline fight. Here, these peasant mobs are mostly getting run over, but you can see the Royal Altar of Gryphites and this Manticore actually charge in on Volkmar. I had charged, on Lewin rather. I charged my Manticore onto Volkmar. Just a super escalated engagement, but Lewin's definitely getting the south end of things. My peasants are holding quite well, though. These veteran men-at-arms here will do quite a bit of damage to those Royal Altar of Gryphites. Unfortunately, I'm still targeted in the center mass there, so I think the Trebuchets might actually be doing some friendly damage to Lewin, but we really should switch targets over onto this other Demigryph Knight, which is still relatively healthy. But here I get a nice rear charge with these Pegasus Knights that should finish off the Royal Altar of Gryphites. Likewise, the other unit coming down and just wrecking these Silver Bullets, trying to finish them off. Archers have overchased a little bit against the Outriders. We're going to redeploy them and try and start shooting into this flank of Spearmen here. Deploy those peasants to kind of block them up. But the main thing here is all this time, Red Legion's cannon is basically free to fire. He's going to move it up and start taking pot shots at Lewin since he's so low. He could also hit the Pegasus Knights. That would be a good target, but at this point I kind of have a decision. Both my Pegasus Knights are in the air. I probably should use one of them to chase the Royal Altar of Gryphites off, so I'm going to try and do that. And then the other one is going to try and support this mainline engagement. Again, get a rear charge on these Demigryph Knights if I can. At least that's the idea. But instead, I kind of make a little bit of a mistake here. Rather than pursuing the Royal Altar of Gryphites, I actually charge these Silver Bullets, and this other Pegasus Knight that charged into this engagement really just doesn't get that much damage done and ends up taking quite a bit of damage in return, especially from that Manticore. So that was really bad for me. The Sandy Ground buffing their melee defense kind of a little bit late there, but I should be able to pull them away. And again, that cannon is just absolutely wrecking my lines here. It's got quite a bit of work done. Down to just 2 trebuchets. One of them is getting compromised. We have been able to rout off a lot of the Empire's stuff, though. Balance power is pretty well in my favor. So at this point, here's another mistake. A pretty huge one, actually. I'm going to actually pop it in slow motion because this is, yeah. I have 2 of these Pegasus Knights here. I really want to take out the Royal Altar of Gryphites, but even with their charge, I don't think these Pegasus Knights, well, I thought obviously they would win, which is why I did it, but you will see in just a moment that they will not. And I could have just pathed them back and gotten after that Great Cannon instead and taken that out. We'll see if that comes back to haunt me. But here, Manticore gets a pretty good engagement on King Lewin. I'm going to try and pull away. Looks like the Demigryph Knights might block him in a little bit. We are able to just about finish up the Royal Altar of Gryphites, but when they turn around and start punching back, they wreck those Pegasus Knights, and that's going to be too much for them. They both rout off there. Thankfully, the Manticore Summon goes down just in time. Lewin's able to pop up and away there, but that Lion Shield just dropped, and you know what that means. The Great Cannon can fire in, do quite a bit of work. The Empire State troops here getting routed away. We have secured the last field trebuchet, at least for the time being, so I can use it to go after various targets. I'm going to choose to go after those spearmen, although again, these regular Demigryph Knights would have been a better target. But with the Sword of Corone active, we're able to finish off these Empire Knights here. These Demigryph Knights, likewise, the veteran peasants, if they don't get terrified here, should be able to finish them off with that Sword of Corone active, debuffing their armor and melee defense. And it looks like they are doing good damage to Lewin. Will the peasants rout? Oh man, it's so close. Looks like the peasants do actually rout. Yes, they do, but they did a really good amount of damage to the Demigryph Knights considering the cost there. Fortunately, Lewin's having a hard time getting back up in the air because of Volkmar and the Demigryph Knights, and the cannon the whole time can continue shooting him. I've finally realized, like, hey, I need to take out that cannon like yesterday. Pegasus Knights, again though, a little bit of a misclick there. I clicked the entire group to go after the Royal Altdorfgrifites, and I guess just because the Pegasus Knights were close enough to the line of fire of that great cannon, they actually routed away there rather than being able to charge in. So the balance of power is still very close. I've got this one trebuchet online, can continue to fight that. I've got Lion Shield active. Once again, no, stand your ground on Lewin, but he is taking some heat, not only from the silver bullets, but also from the great cannon. Again, desperately trying to throw my Pegasus Knights down there, and they immediately rout right before they're about to charge. Lewin himself, if he routs, will lose his regeneration, right? So this is a pretty big mistake diving in here to these spearmen. He gets hit by like one cannon shot, a couple of silver bullets volleys, and with him routing, that means he is done regenerating. He still has a ton of cap space left, so that's really bad for me. I really needed him to continue to cycle charge and regenerate that cap space into the late game here as we try and hold off Volkmar. But as it is, trebuchets will continue firing, trying to finish off those silver bullets. Again, the Pegasus Knights just rout from the cannon crew. I really don't understand that. Like, I guess the cannon crew is just too scary for them. But that's going to be a big blow for me. The cannon continuing to be able to fire into the late game here with relative impunity. The field trebuchet blasting last of the silver bullets will rout them away, but likewise, Volkmar the Grim now has a good situation where he can take out this Grail Relic along with that Amber Wizard. Obviously, that will mean terror routes aplenty, and just in general, my units are not doing great. I think Lewin came back from rout and actually just went down to the Great Cannon. Is that Lewin? That looks like a Manticore. That looks like, okay, there's Beaky, so Lewin must be, yes, there he is, okay. So yep, Lewin goes down, and obviously that's going to pretty quickly lead to critical army losses for me, as the Bretonnians' leadership just cannot hold out. Ended up being a super close game. Honestly, I think if I would have gone back and taken out that cannon while my Pegasus Knights still have enough HP to not get routed by the cannon crew on site, then maybe we could have kept Lewin alive, right? And at the very least, if he wouldn't have routed there, I think that might have made the difference in the late game. I could have cycle charged Volkmar and taken him out and taken out the last of those demis as well, but ultimately that mistake there kind of cost me the game, and credit to Red Legion. That's not to take anything away from his performance. He did misplay the Outriders a little bit, but he did very well with his Demigryph Knights, keeping them in the fight. Volkmar also 111 kills. Good job with the Manticore summons as well, so yeah, just a bit of a tough game, kind of showing why you separate your artillery like that. At least in this case, it gave me time to second-guess my decision and to then make a mistake. and just the fact that it was so far away, right? The Pegasus Knights would have had to dedicate a long time to go back there. So a very good active defense from Red Legion, playing forward from that artillery piece. And I've got one more replay to show you as it relates to Monstrous artillery, so let's get to that. I could talk about the Bone Giant or the Cygor here, but we know what everyone really wants. The Biggin. So Grimgor and the Biggin here. We're once again against Rider of Rohan with his High Elves. Yeah, I've got a front line of Orc Boys. Second line of Biggins. Actually, just the one Biggin. We've got the Biggin as well, obviously. Grimgor. Some Boars here, supported by Bob, and an Orc Shaman. So this is a Orky build. No Gobos here. Very Grimgor themed. And yeah, Broken Tusk Mob is one of those boars. The other two are just regular shielded boar boys. And Bob, of course, having his effect. And not only does the immune to psychology certainly help, the Spirit of Gork from the Biggin gives that extra little bit of leadership. Very nice. As for the High Elves, we've got an Arcane Phoenix, 2 Flamespire Phoenixes, and of course, sitting atop said Arcane Phoenix is Birdman. We've got a couple of lion chariots here, and hidden in the woods is the infantry force, some Lothern Sea Guard, a couple of rangers, and spearmen as well. So pretty basic. Definitely going very heavily into this mobile armor-piercing squad here. I like the pick of the chariots too as well. Kind of an interesting niche pick to go anti-infantry against Greenskins, since they typically bring very, very strong infantry. Likewise, Techless and the Flamespire Phoenixes do magic damage, but they also do fire damage and good armor piercing more than anything with high charge, so they can deal with stone trolls actually pretty effectively. Right now, there's only this one Lothern Sea Guard is emerged from the woods, so they're going to get the rocks thrown at them. The Biggin, while it does have low ammo, of course can refill its own ammunition by sacrificing its own HP, so I'm totally fine to just use ammo here. Generally in the past when I've played with the Biggin, it ends up being like one of the last units left on the field, and with a ton of HP as well, so this time I figured I'm going to use that ammo grab as much as I can, and really just not worry much about the HP loss until the late game. Here we're sort of keeping the boars, maneuvering up and around the flank, trying to get a good engagement on these lion chariots. I believe the intention here for Rider of Rohan was to sort of blob them up and then countercharge in with the Flamespire Phoenixes, and they do come in, do a lot of damage. Very nice Flock of Doom as well, does a lot of damage, and this Fiery Convocation sweeping in, that summoned Phoenix, so to speak. I am able to mostly pull away, but it still gets a clip on both of those unshielded boar boys, so that ended up actually being a pretty bad engagement for me. A very nice kind of bait and switch from Rider of Rohan there. But the Biggin's still going, and he actually has pretty much routed this Lothern Sea Guard at this point, right? So that's fine by me. Grimgor exposing himself, don't look, and of course getting multi-charged by everything. But, oh, and the counter-charge gets caught by a net. Thankfully, the Broken Tusk Mob actually avoid the net for the most part until they get into range. Likewise, the regular boys, the foot boys, they're able to get in here and at least kind of saturate in this engagement, start to bog some of these units down and fight. Bob's also in here doing some good damage. So at the very least, we're starting to do damage to the chariots, although the Phoenixes are mostly untouched. I've taken quite a bit of damage on my boars, and not the best, but still have these reserves over here. We're going to move them into place, especially the Biggins, I think, are in this fight. I don't know where they went off to. I think they're here. Yep, they're big boys. Hard to miss. Boars, again, just pulling away, trying to keep cycle charging as much as possible. Techless and the Bird come to distract the Biggin momentarily. I don't know if they necessarily kill him very quickly. Beautiful fight. Oh, nice fist slam there. If the Biggin gets hits on the Phoenixes, he'll do a ton of damage to them. But obviously, it's going to be hard for him to get hits. Gets a pretty good hit on Techless there, though. And the Birds are going to pull away as the boys follow up. Grimgor in the center has taken some damage. He's doing pretty good, though. A nice Brain Burster just clips a whole bunch of elf models here, all the rangers and so on. And it's quite the scrum, which is something the boys enjoy. Grimgor, though, doesn't enjoy this at all. Getting gooned by 3 Phoenixes. He's taking a lot of damage here. Once he starts to be able to punch back, he should be okay. And the boars, again, countercharging in. Help saturate the boss, get him away from those mean birds. I'm actually just going to keep him away momentarily so I can try and keep that that debuff up as much as possible. I forget what is it? This one. You're next. That's right. Throw that on Techless. In fact, just threw it on Techless right now. So he's going to take more damage from everything, and the boys are just pushing through. Balance of power not looking great, though, to be honest. The Biggin just slam dunking right on top of these spearmen that are next to him. Meanwhile, these chariots are doing a good job kind of disrupting these boys from getting back at those Lothern Sea Guard. A wad now being popped, though. It gives a nice map-wide damage spike as Grimgor is involved in this combat. We're also going to give him Fists of Gork as well, so he's up to literally 103 melee attack. Is he actually going to get any attack animations during this time is the question? Maybe not. Probably not, actually. That's fine. Fiery Convocation comes in. Roast, again, a few of my troops, I'm able to mostly dodge it, but that Overcast Brain Burst is going to rout off the Orc Shaman. He's got 4 HP left, literally 4 HP, so I'm very surprised he didn't shatter there. But, yeah, he's okay. Meanwhile, Rogue Idol's out of ammo once again, so we need to pull up some more. And Grimgor is also in a bit of trouble. Thankfully, Bob is here. Bob giving him a little bit of extra melee attack. And of course, the Broken Tusk Mob as well, providing that anti-large AP. Looks like another Flock of Doom, gonna do some nice AoE damage. But Teclis, again, only has 50 armor, so like even these Biggins and Orc Boys can do effective damage to him. And Bob in particular will be very strong against all 3 of these kind of single entities here, all 3 Phoenixes. Over here, boys, just fighting Spearmen, just regular High Elf versus Orc things. Basic troops fighting each other. Let's take a minute to appreciate that as the Biggin continues to throw slam dunks at close range targets. Oh man, probably hit more boys on that one than anything, but that's fine. These boars are going to try and chase off the Phoenix, but it actually comes back from rout. And Grimgor is still fighting here alongside Bob, getting close. Going to try and finish off these chariots here. I'm surprised the White Lion chariots are still operational. Credit to Rider of Rohan being able to keep them online, ping-ponging between my infantry units. I've got quite a few kills, 79 kills there, just about got an XP chevrons, 51 there. But the boars are a decent counter. Their nice charge bonus and armor piercing damage means they'll come in. And here comes the Biggin as well, trying to fight in melee. Since he is out of ammo once again, and I'm not too certain about... Oh, man! That's a way to destroy a chariot. Just absolutely lays on it there. So yeah, again, I don't want to use up the ammo drain too much at this point in the battle. I am pretty far ahead on the balance of power. Been able to claw things back by dealing with the Phoenixes. Grimgor's still alive. You're next once again on Teclis. He did self-cast Regrowth there, but with the You're next, maybe the Biggin will be able to get some attacks. Looks like he's kind of stuck up right now, but... Oh, there we go. Gets a slam, fist slam there. Bob, once again, in contact with Teclis. Watch this duel. Nice and close. Bob's just, you know, feeling the soft hands of the Biggin there. Yeah, eventually these two are going to rout here. This Phoenix did get its healing proc. I don't believe the other one did, unfortunately. That will kind of stabilize things somewhat and keep army losses from happening, but I believe Teclis just got killed. That's not going to be good. So Bob and Grimgor side by side at last, doing one of their favorite things, which is crumping gits. And yeah, as far as kind of the active defense concept of this goes, obviously with the monster artillery, oftentimes you want to use that monster power in melee, right? So it makes a lot more sense to play close. And of course, monster artillery is a lot more self-reliant, right? Like, you don't necessarily need to, oh geez. Just use the health drain there and it did a bunch of damage to friendly units. I'm trying to throw at single entities, which you guys made fun of me before, which, you know, fair enough. But yeah, again, with the monster artillery, I'm just playing close because it can support in melee. It's a little more self-reliant. Like, it's not going to get taken out by a unit of light cavalry, certainly. And for all of the above reasons, typically you want to play pretty close to something like a Bone Giant, Cygor, the Rogue Idol, the Biggin at least. But yeah, I think they actually just sniped Grimgor here as I was waxing. Nope, Grimgor's still alive, but they are trying to snipe Bob. Poor Bob. I say poor Bob. He's actually an absolute menace to society. Certainly looking menacing. Oh, gets a hit on Teclis there. You're next once again on Teclis. He's going to pull away, try and get away from this. That's basically it. So we'll fast forward through the endgame here. As Loth and Seaguar get cleaned up, Teclis gets routed by Bob. Bob's going to also finish off the chariots. And I think that's it. Maybe. Teclis decides to fly around for a sec, try and get one final charge. See if he can take out Grimgor. Oh, the bombing run, actually, that's a pretty good play there. Take out some of those Orc boys with the Flaming Phoenix Feces. Charges the Rogue Idol. Looks like another regrowth on Teclis, actually. Try and heal him up. But Bob says, no, go away, you silly birds. And he is going to chase this Phoenix, get a few good attacks on it. Teclis dives down, try and attack him from behind, but he can then pull away. You're next, once again being used on Teclis, and that will lead to him getting routed off here. I think he will probably squeak back up in the air, yes, but that's only a matter of time at this point. Balance power actually kind of back towards even, all things considered. And there go the Orc boys. Rohan definitely doing what he should and just picking off all my isolated units, trying his best to come back in this game, but that Phoenix goes down there as he actually, I think the dropping rocks from the Rogue Idol just killed it, and that leaves Teclis to fight Grimgor and Bob, which is not a good day for Teclis. Rogue Idol approaches, and that will be it. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this Tactics triple cast talking about artillery and sort of different ways you can protect it or choose to not protect it, and how that can be a sort of a conscious choice. You have the ability to win mobility and take out your opponent's fast-moving units, take out maybe counterfire units as well, protect your artillery, then you can play it forward and not have to be too tied down for it. To it, rather. So yeah, hopefully you guys learned something. Great games to Rider of Rohan, and of course to Red Legion as well. So yeah, if you guys want to get some practice time with me, again, be sure to check out the Patreon page. Thanks again. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, all that jazz, and we'll see you next time.